Hey there, it's Olivia-Savannah here from Olivia's Catastrophe, and I'm joined with Simi.
Hello.
And we are going to, well, actually, we're here. Why are we here?
We're here because it is July 1st, aka Disability Pride Month.
Whee! And we're here to give you some disability book recommendations. So do you want to say like your background, your socials, where can they find you?
Yes, you can find me on my website, thewheelchairteen.com, and also just as The Wheelchair Teen on Instagram and Twitter.
Great, and we're going to recommend you 10 to 15-ish books that have disability rep within them, whether it's by Own Voices authors or not. We will flag whether it is by Own Voices authors or not when we talk about the books. Who do you want to go first, sis?
You can go first.
Okay, so the first book that I'm going to be recommending to you is one that I've recently read, and that is Just Saying by Malorie Blackman, who is an author that's very popular amongst us Roach girls. We love her books. And she recently came out with a memoir, which is Just Saying, and it's about her experience living life as a black woman and her writing journey as a black woman. She's been quite groundbreaking in the UK for writing a best-selling young adult series that flips the racism discussion on its head. But what I really liked about her memoir is how I learned so much about things I did not know she had to go through. Lots of things to do with health, as she has sickle cell anemia, which is the disability rep that I didn't know about before, but also in terms of like racism and homelessness and financial issues. She has been through a lot, and her memoir in particular, with the way that she was treated with her sickle cell anemia and the racism that she had to face within the medical system, really made me feel emotional and made me feel quite angry. So that is why I'm recommending that one for Disability Pride Month. I'm
going to recommend Being Human, an unrepentant memoir of a disability rights activist by Judith Heumann with Kristen Joyner. And I want to recommend this because one of the major parts of Disability Pride Month is helping to celebrate our history and people educating themselves on things like the disability rights movement. And Judith Heumann played such a huge role in the mainstream disability rights movement. And this book details her life, the activism, the movement, the journey that went on. And it's such an incredible, groundbreaking story, which I really enjoyed reading and I highly recommend.
And this one is Own Voices as well.
Yeah, definitely Own Voices. It was written by Judith Heumann with someone to help her write it, and here's her story.
The next one I'm going to recommend, which you can see Simone's bookmark because she's currently reading it, is Disability Visibility, which is edited by Alice Wong, but it's by a variety of authors. And this is a collection of essays where they talk about their experiences living their disabled lives. And you get to hear from a variety of different people who all have different disabilities, whether they are physical, invisible, or I think there are also some who have, chronic disabilities. There's just a whole huge range. And what I especially liked about it is just you hear from such a swathe of experiences, what it's like to be a parent while disabled, what it's like going out on your own while disabled, transport while disabled, religion, on different religious experiences if you're disabled, and it brought so much independence to each and every essay. It shows how disability is by no means a monolith and that all experiences are different and varied, but also it showed the community and connectivity between these voices as well. There were some of these essays that had me devastated because what happened was so unfair or unjust or sad, but also some of them that were really sweet and heartwarming and made me smile too. So it does a balance of the emotions, and I just think it's absolutely fantastic. And after I reviewed it, many of you recommended that I read Alex Wong's memoir, and I very much want to do that.
My next pick is I Am Not a Label, and I really like this one because I found it while doing research for disability books for children. So this one is a picture book that's also good for young readers as well as old readers. It can be enjoyed by everyone. And it's having 34 disabled artists, thinkers, athletes and activists from past and present. Yeah, and it's really great to learn their stories and to learn about all of the disabled people throughout history who've made an impact and a huge difference on society. And it's kind of a picture book style, so
I love to show some of the illustrations when I talk about picture books so that people can get a little bit of a taste test. I'm trying to check that you can see the pictures that I'm showing. But yeah, it's very colourful, very bright. And so would you say it's one that children can read with their parents then, alongside them?
Yes, 100%.
So I would probably put this around the age range of like 6 to 12 because there's a lot of words on each page. So even though it's in the picture book format, so it makes it easy reading for a parent and an adult, or guardian or teacher and adult I should say, it is still like one of those more mature picture books.
Yeah, and I bought it as an adult and I'm still really wholeheartedly enjoying it.
So for something a little bit different, I wanted to recommend some Afrofuturism sci-fi because I strongly believe that Afrofuturism sci-fi is one of the most underrated genres that is absolutely fantastic and serving. And so I could have recommended the 5th season for this because while very few of the characters start off disabled, they go through a lot that leads to disabilities, and it really normalizes how their disability kind of enacts itself in their daily lives from that moment onwards. Can you see I'm low-key recommending it anyway? But the book that I actually want to talk about here is The Black God's Drums by Djeli P. Clark, and this is an Afrofuturism novella set in the future, but it's a kind of steampunky future that combines with history, and you're following this young girl who kind of has this god within her speaking to her, and all she wants to do is escape away on an airship. But maybe there's some forces at play and she needs to save a lot more people and has to stay grounded to do so. And this young girl who is traveling ends up working with the captain of an airship who only has one leg and uses a prosthetic limb. So that's a disability representation that's in there as well. And I just thought this was so fantastic. You can sit down and read it in a day if you want, but you can also savor it and take your time. It's got so much history within it. It's got so much black culture, but also some of the mythology around the gods included. And it was one of those ones that had such a conclusive and satisfying ending, even though it's a novella, and I thought it was fantastic. I'm looking forward to reading Ring Shout by the same author. And that one, I believe it's not own voices, but I don't know that much about the author.
My next pick is Seven Devils. I'm also switching up a bit and having some fiction now. And this is an adult fiction sci-fi space opera. And it's these group of women who have to reluctantly team up together to fight against a space dictator. And it has disabled representation in it. One of the main characters has an amputation and uses a prosthetic limb, and I really like that it's a very casual representation. It's not really about that, but that part is definitely in it and definitely is a part of that character.
I thought that book was so much fun. I had such an enjoyable time reading it. Very much looking forward to the sequel.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
And also coming with you with another genre fiction recommendation, we have to talk about Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert, which I've already recommended to you many a time before, but if you have not read it, this is your opportunity to. So it's about Chloe, who is almost hit by a car, and she thinks, oh my gosh, I need to get a life. And she makes a list of things that she wants to do in her life and then goes about doing them. In the process of doing so, she rescues a cat in a tree, and she gets up into the tree when she has a fibromyalgia flare and it gets stuck in this tree. But there's a strong, buff, good-looking guy walking by to help her called Red, and from there begins the romance. Chloe is full of the chronic illness rep for fibromyalgia and its own voices because the author has that as well. I buddy read it with my friend who also has that condition, and she just talked about how accurate and well done the representation was, and I just love that it was woven in so nicely with the romance and the storyline, and Red was just so understanding of her disability and how that fit into their relationship. But it also does so many other things as well. Like Red is this like buff man who's going to therapy, and it made me so happy to read that romance book, and the rest of the books are good too.
My next pick is more in the young adult genre. It's A Different Sort of Normal by Abigail Balfe, and this one is really good autistic representation. She talks a lot about her own journey with discovering she was autistic and what that was like for her as a kid growing up and as an adult. But she also talks about autism in general, some of the stereotypes there, and she makes all to talk about it in a very diverse way, also talking about people of color who are autistic and people like LGBTQ who are autistic, and you can just learn so much, and it's so fun as well. There's like all these fun pictures and graphics on every single page that really helps to sell it as well, and it's just a really nice educational journey.
The next one I'm going to recommend is one of the earliest books that I read with disability rep that I didn't realise was disability rep, and that is Deenie by Judy Blume, and that was the first book I ever read about a girl who has scoliosis, and she needs to wear a really big brace to kind of help align her back again. And she is someone who was being put forward by her parents for modelling, and she's kind of a teenager who's growing up, and she's in that like pre-teen phase of trying to fit in. So she's going through a lot emotionally, and when I read that book I just really loved Deenie as a character and seeing her work through all these different pressures, and I loved it so much that I made my username on the writing society that I went to, Deenie, as well. So it just was one of those books that had a really big impact on me as a teenager, and I didn't realise why I found it so impactful until later, looking back at it, seeing disability rep and knowing that, like, yes, she has braces, and I was thinking like, oh, my younger sister has these type of shoes that she needs to wear as a sort of brace. And those connections that I was drawing subtly but not consciously. It's not Own Voices, but I just wanted to mention it because it was one that had such a big impact on my own personal journey.
I also want to talk about a character who had a huge impact on my personal journey, and that's Barbara Gordon, aka Oracle. So I recommend The Oracle Code, and that one is a graphic novel about Barbara who uses a wheelchair, and she's trying to solve the mystery of a crime that's happening in the disability rehabilitation center that she's assigned to. But I also just want to say in general, I recommend every comic and graphic novel that Barbara Gordon is in. She's in DC superheroes, because she's a wheelchair user, and growing up she was my favorite superhero, and it meant so much to have a superhero who is in a wheelchair, who is as smart and intelligent and cool as her, and she really inspired me a lot when I was younger. So Oracle Code as well means a lot to me.
Yes, it's a good one. Do you want to continue on to talk about your next graphic novel pick at the same time?
Yeah, my next graphic novel is Monstress, which, I'm not kidding, has some of the most beautiful art in it that I've ever seen in a graphic novel. It's stunning and gorgeous. The main character doesn't have a limb, doesn't have an arm, so that's the disability representation. And I think it's really interesting how, you know, the world building and the world around her is so complex and beautiful, but also how she, as someone with a disability, kind of fits in there, also with the law and tying in with powers and things like that. And so I really loved the disability representation, and loved the art so much.
Yes, I should say also that this is a horror fantasy. I always pitch this one as a fantasy graphic novel, not realising how much horror was in it as someone who likes their horror hardcore. So just a fair warning, it does get gory and it is horror too. But I also really like this series. And piggybacking off of that, I want to recommend two graphic novels where the main characters are not disabled, but the secondary characters within them are disabled. And both of the secondary characters that I'm referring to here are wheelchair users. And it just means so much to me to see like wheelchair users visible on the page in graphic novels, whether they're main characters or not. And because they're secondary characters, it's not really questioned, like the backstory of why they're in a wheelchair or anything. They're just there as characters and they help the others along their journey. So those two graphic novels, the first one is The Tea Dragon Society by Kay O'Neill, and this is a graphic novel about these dragons that make tea and this young child who wants to kind of learn that practice. And it's very cute and it's very sweet, and one of the trainers of the dragons is a wheelchair user. So very cute. And then the second one I want to recommend is Project Nought by Chelsey Furedi, and this is just a fun, really good time travel related graphic novel about this school where, to teach their teenagers history, they time travel people from that time period into the future so that they can have a little exchange program and then send them back. And maybe the whole way that that's done, there's some more sinister elements to it than expected, but there is also a really like sassy, pretty non-binary, pretty cool wheelchair user in that as well, which I just really love that whole graphic novel, so I had to recommend it.
My last one is a middle grade recommendation. It's called The Adventures of Cyborg Cat by A.D. Adepitan, who is someone who I grew up watching and I really enjoy a lot, and I didn't realize he'd written a book. And the book is really great because it's just a lot of fun. It's great writing for kids, there's pictures in it, but also I love the intersectionality of it. The story is about AD when he just moves from Nigeria to the UK, and he has to adjust. Here people are sometimes racist towards his families and they don't get his black culture, but also he faces discrimination for being disabled and having to use a caliper. So I really like how it handled the intersectionality of both, sometimes you have to face racism and ableism, but then also how both of those cultures can empower you as well. And I love the friend group in it. It was very cute and just all round wholesome, lovely story.
And you actually got to meet him, didn't you?
Yeah, I did meet him and I took a picture with him. He's like the only celebrity I've met.
And where did you meet him?
I went to the Paralympics when I was in London a few years ago, which was one of the best experiences. It was so much fun.
And that is Voices, obviously. So there you have it. There's a range of books for you to recommend. Thank you so much for coming on the channel and joining me. Make sure you check out Simi's blog, which I'll leave a link to down below, which is live and active again, The Wheelchair Teen. And this time around, she also has a Twitter and an Instagram, so I'll leave those links as well down below. Make sure you follow Simi. What else do I want to say? Oh, when we were making this list, we had to narrow down from all of the different books that we could have chosen from. I would love to do it again at some point with you. So let me know in the comment section down below if you'd like to have Simone back on to talk through some more disability recs, and let us know what was the last book with disability rec that you read that you thought did it quite well. And I think that's it from us. Do you have anything more you want to say?
Thank you so much for having me on the channel. I really enjoyed this. This was a lot of fun. Make sure that you all research disability pride parades in your area and celebrate Disability Pride Month.
Yes. So with that said, please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Hit the subscribe button if you want to see more, and don't forget to hit that notification bell to be updated every time I have a new video. And yeah, you know what they say, onwards and upwards. Excelsior!